The Silent Brew. In the heart of an empty countryside, surrounded by rolling hills and dense, whispering trees, there was a cafe that no one remembered building. It stood at the edge of a forgotten dirt road, its wooden facade faded and its sign etched with a single word, Brew. To the rare travelers who stumbled upon it, the cafe seemed like a God-sent warm light spilling from its windows, and the faint aroma of coffee drifting into the cold night air. But the villagers in the nearby town knew better. They spoke of strange disappearances, travelers who never returned, and eerie whispers carried by the wind. One cold evening, Mia, a tired art student returning from a countryside photography trip, found herself hopelessly lost. Her GPS had failed hours ago, and the winding dirt roads all seemed the same. As darkness descended, her car sputtered to a stop, the gas tank empty. Frustrated and a little scared, she stepped out, the silence of the countryside pressing down on her. That's when she saw the glow. Just over a hill, faint golden light flickered against the growing shadows. She climbed the slope and saw it. A small cafe, its windows inviting, its doors slightly ajar. Relieved, Mia hurried toward the building. As she approached, she noticed how oddly pristine it looked, as though untouched by time. The air seemed warmer near the entrance, the scent of coffee more intoxicating with every step. The bell above the door tinkled softly as she stepped inside. The warmth wrapped around her like a blanket, chasing away the chill of the night. The interior was cozy wooden floors, mismatched chairs, and old photographs lining the walls. A fire crackled gently in a stone fireplace. Yet, something felt off. There were no other customers. Behind the counter stood a man in his late 30s, tall and lean, with a calm but unreadable expression. His eyes seemed to linger on Mia a moment too long before he spoke. "Welcome," he said, his voice low and smooth. "You must be cold." "Coffee?" "Yes, please," Mia said, grateful for the warmth. She chose a seat near the fireplace, her tired body sinking into the worn armchair. The man brought her a steaming cup moments later. "First one's on the house," he said with a slight smile, before retreating behind the counter. Mia sipped the coffee, its rich, velvety taste better than anything she'd ever had. But as she drank, the cafe grew unnaturally quiet. The crackling fire seemed muted, and even the faint hum of the wind outside disappeared. Then she heard it, a soft, rhythmic tapping. She glanced around, but saw no one. "Is someone there?" she called out, her voice trembling slightly. The man at the counter didn't respond. His head was tilted down, as though focused on something unseen. When Mia looked closer at the photographs on the walls, a chill crept over her. Each picture showed a group of smiling patrons sitting in the cafe, but their faces were blurry, as if smeared by an unseen hand. One photo caught her attention, a young woman sitting alone at a table by the fireplace. The woman was wearing a coat identical to Mia's, her hair styled in the same messy bun. Mia's heart began to race. She turned to look at the table where the woman in the photo had sat and froze. A faint outline of a figure was sitting there. Not solid, not human, but unmistakably present. She shot up from her chair, knocking over her coffee. "What is this place?" she demanded, her voice shaking. The man behind the counter finally looked up, his expression blank. "You shouldn't have stopped here," he said simply. Mia backed away, her breath coming in shallow gasps. The fire had gone out, and the room felt colder than the night outside. Shadows began to shift along the walls, shapes forming and unforming, growing closer with each flicker of the lanterns. A desperate escape Mia bolted toward the door, but the room seemed to stretch, the distance growing with every step. The bell above the door jingled softly, though no one had touched it. Whispers began to fill the air low, unintelligible voices that overlapped and grew louder. The man behind the counter was watching her now, his expression eerily calm. "You can leave," he said, "but only if it lets you." "Let me out!" Mia screamed, her hands fumbling with the door handle. It wouldn't budge. The whispers became deafening, the shadows closing in. Then she saw it, the outline of a second door at the back of the cafe. Without thinking, she ran toward it, throwing it open and plunging into the cold night air. She didn't stop running until she reached the road where her car sat, inexplicably full of gas. She jumped in, turned the key, and sped off without looking back. When Mia finally reached the nearest town, she tried to tell her story, but the villagers only exchanged nervous glances. "There's no cafe like that around here," one old man finally said. "Not anymore." She returned to the area a week later, hoping to prove herself wrong, but the cafe was gone. In its place was a clearing, the ground covered in ashes, as if something had burned there long ago. From that night on, Mia avoided late-night drives and empty roads. But sometimes, in her dreams, she could still taste that perfect cup of coffee and hear the whispers calling her back.